And so if God
Absolutely.
is acting in creation, if God is acting in redemption, if God brings Noah and his family through the waters of the world that then was into the world that now is, if God calls Abraham out of his place to a place he will show him and makes an oath passage through the Old Testament Golgotha and guarantees his inheritance by his own self-maledictory oath, if God provides a ram caught in the thicket in place of Isaac, if God brings a people through the waters of the Red Sea, through blood sacrifice, baptizing them into Moses, and accompanies them through the wilderness into a land that is a land of Sabbath rest that flows with milk and honey, so that he might show his glory dwelling in the tabernacle, so that the people of God might worship him and glorify him. If God's doing those things, the logic of the scripture cannot be about religious experience in the narrow and specific sense of the term. It must be, the scriptures must be an authoritative interpretation, verbal in character, of those mighty deeds. And so the history of prophetism and the nature of prophetism either fits a history of special revelation or it does not. And if it does not, it has no place in canonical scripture. You see, so
Sure.
Voss is
Otherwise, it's
just so
devotional.
helpful
It's
here.
like devotional content. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not the Bible. it's not.
yeah,
It's not scriptural. It
yeah.
could have some benefit, perhaps, but it's not. It's not God's revelation.
That's right. And this is where Voss excels. And I know a lot of listeners may wonder, why do we always keep coming back to or why does Voss always keep coming back to the critical theories? Well, the critical theories are a substitute for the true religion. And if we're not reminded constantly that such critical theories are a substitute for the true religion, do you know what happens? If we stop saying this, Camden, and if everyone for the next decade stopped saying this, if Voss Group quit, if Reform Forum stopped, if others who are saying this, because we're not the only ones saying this, but if others stopped saying this, in 10 years, do you know what would start happening? The kernel theory and the divination theory would be acceptable interpretations of the mode of prophetic revelation
For sure.
and would be set right alongside what Voss is saying about a history of special revelation, and the line that distinguishes a history of religion from a history of
Yep.
special revelation would likely disappear in the minds of almost all.
Look, these types of theories sneak in even when people are saying these things. You and I lived through it 10 years ago at the seminary. Me as
That's
a student,
exactly
you
right.
as a professor. This
That's
stuff
exactly right.
happens. I mean, and that's under the watch of people that are confessional and orthodox.
Yeah. It's a very, what can happen is it's a very subtle thing at one level, and that's why you need to be trained, and that's why our listeners, especially the pastors and those who are wanting to teach, or elders who are engaged in shepherding the flock, the little ones for whom Christ died, who are not trained in this, can read a divination theory or read a kernel theory, and it can sound plausible unless it's given careful examination, scrutinized in light of the teaching of Scripture, and understood in light of the history of special revelation.